Hello guys, you are welcome to TIIDELab Self-Learning Assessment and congratulations for making it this far. My name is Uncle Big B and I'm going to be your tutor for this self-learning assessment. In this video, we are going to be taking a brief look at what HTML, CSS and JavaScript are all about, and in the coming video we are going to be developing a functional web page using these three technologies. So to begin with, let's take a look at what is HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is used to make web pages, and also it describes the layout of our web page. So basically, HTML is not a programming language but a markup language that is used to define the structure of our web page. So let's imagine that we want to develop a functional button that shows an heart emoji whenever we click on it. So the first thing we need to do is to define the HTML structure of this button using an HTML tag called button. So most of the HTML tag has an opening tag, a closing tag, and we can write within this opening and closing tag. But for the case of a button tag, we are just going to write a click me text within it. And this button tag is going to give us this basic button with a label of click me. So in the next slide, we are going to take a look at what is CSS and how we can improve our button with CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and it is a style sheet language used for describing the presentation of a document written in a markup language such as HTML. And we should also note that CSS is not a programming language but a style sheet that contains all the styles rules that we want to define for an HTML element, which is our button in this case. So a CSS styles rules can be a background color, can be a color, can be margin, can be padding, or any other CSS styles rules that is applicable to that HTML element. So let's take a look at the improvement CSS has made to our button. So now our button has a background color of red with the text of white. And in order to achieve this, we declare the name of the button and then we specify the properties that we want to apply to this button in a curly bracket. We define a background color of red and a color of white. CSS has made our button more presentable and much better than a basic HTML layout. So in the next slide, we are going to take a look at how we can improve our button's functionality with JavaScript. So JS or JavaScript, they mean the same thing. So you might be seeing me or hearing me saying JS or JavaScript in the coming videos. So just have it in mind that two words mean the same thing. So JavaScript is a scripting language that runs on the browser and it can also run on other environments with Node.js. Where HTML and CSS are languages that give structure and style to web pages, JavaScript gives web pages interactive elements that engage a user. So with HTML, a user cannot interact with the button. With CSS, a user cannot interact with the button. But with JavaScript, JavaScript allows us to add functionalities that a user can interact with. Like when they click on the button, something is going to show up. So we are going to achieve this functionality with JavaScript. And this is achievable with JavaScript because it is a programming language. So let us note that HTML and CSS are not a programming language, but JavaScript is the only programming language between these three technologies. So let's take a look at the functionalities that we've achieved with JavaScript. So as you can see, the illustration here is whenever we click on this button, this heart emoji is going to pop up. And in order to achieve this, we are declaring the button name and then we are adding an event listener to the button that is going to listen to every click event on this particular button. And when the button is being clicked, the function show heart is going to be triggered, which is going to allow this heart emoji to display. So in summary, HTML is a markup language used for describing the layout of a web page, and CSS is a style sheet used for describing the presentation of a document written in a markup language such as HTML. And finally, JavaScript is a scripting language that is used to give web pages interactive elements that engage a user. So HTML is not a programming language but a markup language, and CSS is a style sheet and also not a programming language. But JavaScript is a programming language that adds functionalities to our web page. So in the next video, we are going to be developing a functional web page application using these 3 technologies, and see you in the next